So quite a few people over the last couple of years have told me they don't want to use the stock Predator gas tank. It's just too big and bulky, but they want an aluminum gas tank, but they don't want to pay the $100 price, which I don't blame them. A lot of those tanks are quite expensive. So what I've did on a couple of these bikes, which I'm not recommending, but this is what I've did. I've used vehicle overflow tanks, the aluminum overflow tanks, and they cost around 25, 30 bucks. So the first one I made was this tank I made on the Azusa bike out of an overflow tank, and I didn't want to spend $100 on the aluminum round tank, so I picked this one up off of eBay, I think for like 25 bucks, and I added a vent line that I picked up off of Amazon with a hose barb in the cap, and I added a couple fittings on the bottom. So it worked out really well on this bike. I mean, it fits perfect, and it works great with the pulse pump. And then this one here is quite a bit bigger than the one on the other bike. It's quite a bit bigger. So I can use this in maybe a little bit bigger frame. So this one here was 26 bucks shipped, and it's all aluminum, which is really cool. And you can get these in blue powder coat, red powder coat, polished aluminum. And I think they're all around the same price, probably 25 to 30 bucks. And these here will fit perfect for a front mount on a Predator. Just make up a small bracket for the front. So these tanks come with the overflow fittings. So of course I'll take these off of here. I mean, you could just run a hose and connect them together, but I mean, just to make it look better, I usually pop these off of here. And I'll plug these. And I usually plug them with the fittings off another tank, or I'll use like a 1/4 inch hex head plug, like a brass plug. Or another thing you can do, which I have before, is the tanks come with this drain plug on the bottom, which I usually take out because this is where I put my fitting in for the fuel line. So I use this drain plug up here on the top. That way it just has a clean look to it. So I usually plug those from the drain plug off the bottom, and then I'll take out this sight hose. And I'll plug these, and I'll use the plugs off of this tank. But like I said, you don't have to. You can use brass plugs. I mean, you figure with two tanks together, it's only like 50 bucks, about half the price of your standard round aluminum tank. So I'll use the plugs and plug all this off. You can use like Loctite 592 or whatever your favorite sealer is for gas. Maybe some Teflon tape on these fittings if you want. So it ends up nice and clean. I will either use a 1/4 inch fitting for the bottom here, and then with a straight hose barb, or you can use an elbow, a 1/4 by 1/4 elbow to fit on the bottom here for the fuel line. And like I said, then you use your whatever sealer you want on here. So then you get the fuel line coming out for the pulse pump. So it'll look really nice on there. I'll make me an aluminum bracket. So on the cap, to get a vent on here, I'll take it and use one of these vents from Amazon. You can buy a whole pack of these for like 10 bucks for I think 10 or 12 of them in a pack. And then I will tap the cap with my 5/16 drill bit, and then use my 1/4 inch by or 1/8 by 1/4 inch hose barb, and I'll put it in here. And then I'll use the vent like I did on the other bike. Yeah, another thing that's cool is these caps are nice and thick, so they take a tap really well. So the hose barb holds really well inside the cap. It's not real thin. And throw my hose barb in here. And what's good about this, the plumbing style, the MPT tap, it gets bigger as you go. So you can tap it down as far as you want. I mean, if you want the hole a little bit bigger, so the hose barb goes all the way to the top where it's flush on here. So then I throw my vent on here. All right, so then you got your nice vented cap, which the hose doesn't come off very easy because it's I mean, it's a big barb, which is really nice. Because when you get the smaller ones, I notice the hose will slip off. So it's nice having this big 1/4-inch hose barb on here. So now you have the tank, the fitting on the bottom. It's all blocked off on this side. So now all I have to do is make a mount for the engine. I mean, you can mount this anywhere too. I mean, it doesn't have to be on the engine. I've seen people mount them at the hood rides on the front of the bike right here. I mean, you could even mount it on a cart on the front. So it'd fit nice on a cart too. So I already had this piece of aluminum for my bracket, for my tank mount. And then I'll cut a piece of this straight aluminum and bolt it to that bracket. I mean, it doesn't have to be that elaborate. I mean, you can just use an L bracket right here and just come off the engine. But for me, I already have these parts here, so I might as well use them. So I'll mark my holes here and drill me some holes in this. Okay, so I got my bracket made up here, and it doesn't have to be this elaborate. Like I said, it could be just an L bracket. So I'll bolt on right there, and I can bolt it up and down this slide, depending on how high I need the tank, in case the frame rail is getting in the way on the mini bike. So I got my bracket bolted on there. So now all I have to do is bolt it to the engine, and I bolted it at the lowest setting. So hopefully it fits in the frame, but like I said, if it doesn't, I can always raise it up in case the frame rails are down towards the bottom there. So I'm using some 3/8 by 16 bolts to bolt this on here. So it's a pretty compact mount. And the nice thing about this tank is you can even use it on the Hemi mounts. You would just have to bend the L bracket a little bit more for the angle of the Hemi mount. Even the Tillerson block without the mounts, you could just come off straight off the block. So I think on any style engine you could use this. I mean, just a matter of making up your bracket, which is really easy. So there we go, $27 tank. I guess it depends on what you have lying around. I mean, if you have a lot of fittings and stuff lying around and some metal or aluminum, wouldn't cost you any extra. So I mean, if you had to buy the fittings, it cost you a few bucks a fitting, so you might end up having like 40 bucks in it. But it's pretty inexpensive for an aluminum tank, and it's a lot smaller and out of the way versus the stock big Predator tank that's up here. Especially if you're going to use a pulse pump.